Tonight on CTV News, the freedom camping bylaws one step closer to becoming reality. Burglars hit a local school disrupting a Christmas toy workshop. And when a cat gets stuck up a tree, who you gonna call? Kia ora, good evening. By this time next week, freedom camping could be banned across many parts of Christchurch and Banks Peninsula. The Christchurch City Council set to discuss the new bylaw this week after numerous complaints from residents regarding noise, rubbish and excrement left by campers. It's been an ongoing problem for many around Banks Peninsula, with the temporary ban put in place for the new Brighton car park last summer after more than 30 freedom campers parked up. Under the draft bylaw, freedom camping would be banned in the central city. It would also be banned in most residential areas unless campers are in a self-contained vehicle with a toilet on board. The proposal sees freedom campers being able to stay in set areas including Addington, Ferrymead, Wainui, French Farm and the Lower Styx River mouth for up to 2 nights in some places and 5 in others. If campers don't abide by the rules, they could be slapped with a $200 fine. The bylaw is expected to cost around $100,000 each year to enforce, and if the Christchurch City Council gives it the green light, the bylaw is expected to come into force by the start of December. A coroner's blocked publication details of how a 3-year-old Rolleston girl died of serious injuries on Sunday afternoon. The move follows news reports earlier in the day of how the toddler suffered injuries and who caused them in what appears to have been a tragic accident. Superintendent Lane Todd says the death's not being treated as suspicious, but speculation on social media is causing unnecessary distress to her family and friends. The girl was admitted to Christchurch Hospital in a critical condition but died of her injuries. Santa's workshop was burgled over the weekend, with toy production screeching to a halt. And no, it's not the North Pole, but a workshop located at Shirley Intermediate, run by a bunch of retirees. Chelsea Daniels reports.
Burglars have struck at a Christchurch school, stealing tools used to make toys for underprivileged children at Christmas. Santa's workshop at Shirley Intermediate has had to halt production today after the burglary took place over the weekend.
We can't touch anything until the police check for fingerprints, so all our workers have got the day off. The
vandals took power tools from the group of 10 who work all year round to produce over 1,000 wooden toys. The toys are distributed across the region for disadvantaged children to have something to open on Christmas Day.
The toys are given away. We have a policy where the toys are not sold, but they are to be given away to children in need who may not necessarily get a present at Christmas time.
The toys are distributed through the Mayor's Welfare Fund, the City Mission, the Anglican Social Services and various Lion clubs around the region. And they make everything from toy cars to doll cradles.
Kids love to have them. You take them there and you give them the things and they put them down and the little kids rush into them and they're gone. It's an empty carton.
Their workshop was gifted to them by Shirley Intermediate School after their original space was damaged by the earthquakes. It's the second week in a row the school has had police on its front doorstep, with trespassers caught on CCTV cameras just last weekend.
It could well be that someone came last week. They've seen that the area was pretty removed from people being able to see or hear close by. It's not in sight of the road. It's around the back of the school, and perhaps it gave them courage to come back and try again.
As well as Santa's workshop, the burglars broke into the school's tech lab and groundskeeper's shed.
They've taken a lot of tools, TV, drop saw, quite a few hand tools, power tools.
And Mr. Ciave says the graffiti hasn't gone unnoticed.
I recognise a couple of the tags in there. I'm sure they'll be recognisable. But finding them is one thing. There's a bit of comfort in that. But it's just terrible that anyone feels that they need to do this, and it's terrible that they're taking away from children and from the community.
but the group's great work for Canterbury kids is undeniable.
They are great role models for our children. So occasionally some of our children will go and they'll see, and they'll look around and see what the men are doing there. It's showing them that people are donating their time, they're doing something for others, and it's just a wonderful little workshop, and I have great admiration for the men who do it.
The group have already made around 250 wooden toys for next Christmas, with no signs of slowing down. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Foul play has been ruled out in the death of an elderly man who was found washed up on New Brighton Beach on Sunday morning. Police have released a photo of a bike they hope may identify the mystery man, who is believed to have been aged between 60 and 70. The death's not being treated as suspicious. Investigators did not know how long the man was in the water. A group of university students say they've found worrying levels of copper in Christchurch rivers. They believe the metal's leaching from buildings featuring copper after testing water runoffs on 2 sites. Tanya Green reports.
Undergrad geography students from Canterbury University have discovered something they say could be dangerous for Avon River wildlife. They studied the Knox Church and Christchurch Court to find effects of copper building materials on waterways, presenting them here at a meeting for the Peterborough Village Community Group. Local architect Di Lucas suggested the study when she noticed the new copper buildings popping up around the city. Her instincts told her it could have downstream effects.
The copper product is washed down in the rainwater and has a very negative effect on the biota in the river.
The student study showed high traces of copper in the rainwater sitting in the downpipes of the church and courthouse.
A certain amount of copper, even for us as human beings, is healthy. We need it for survival. It's the same for the aquatic ecosystem. They need it, but only to a certain extent. And if that is exceeded, then it gets dangerous for us.
Their report showed copper levels were higher than internationally accepted levels in 14 out of 20 samples. It also found over half the river samples tested also exceeded the normal levels. The team also surveyed architects who use copper to see if they were aware of the issue.
They thought they were aware, but then we had 50% not being aware almost of the issue. When we asked them, do you include environmental effects in your design choices? They said yes, but would you use more copper if it was less expensive? They said yes as well. So those ones should go in a negative way, you know, if you say yes to the one, say no to the other. So does price matter more than the environment?
The study group supervisor says architects aren't the only ones behind the decision-making process when building.
If you've got customers who are wanting an ecologically friendly building, then architects will have the ability to say, well, let's not do copper then because that's what you're wanting. But on the other hand, if they've got clients that don't care about that, then their hands are kind of tied.
It's been a long process, but the team's convinced it's worth further investigation.
I mean, for us, it sounds awful, but we found high concentrations, so we identified an issue, and that is, in a sense, good, because now we can make people aware of it.
They'd like to present their findings to Council to raise that awareness, and then find funding to study the matter further. Tanya Green, CTV News.
The man accused of the Ashburton Winds shooting will stand trial in the Christchurch High Court in February next year. Russell John Tully is accused of murdering Peggy Noble and Susan Cleveland and attempting to murder 2 other work and income employees on September 1st last year. The trial is set to last 3 weeks. Well, still to come here on CTV News, we catch up with what's happening in your neighbourhood. Welcome back to CTV News. The Selwyn mayoralty race has begun, with the current councillor looking to seek the top job. Pat McEvity's put his hand up to run New Zealand's fastest growing district. Kelvin Coe announced he wouldn't stand back in 2013 after 3 terms in the role, saying his position hasn't changed. McEvity's been on the district council for 5 years. Well, thousands of dollars were raised over the weekend for a very special cause. Chelsea Daniels has more.
Cantabrians have raised over $100,000 to support Starship's National Air Ambulance Service. The service flies top medical experts to children suffering from life-threatening emergencies around the country. The Friends of Starship Christchurch held their first Diamonds and Stars tea party on Sunday, where 180 guests enjoyed a high tea while raising money for a worthwhile cause.
We were raising funds for the National Air Ambulance, which is the Starship Air Ambulance, and that flies the critically ill children back to Auckland to receive the life-saving care that they need, and it also flies down that medical experts to actually treat them on the ground, get them stabilised, get them on the plane. So basically that is the lifeline for those children that are really sick.
And Mrs. Smulders says it's a cause her whole family supports.
As a family, we've chosen to support children's causes. I think the children are our future, and I think every child deserves a wonderful start in life, and that we all deserve to be looked after with the best care that we can.
The tea party involved a charity auction as well, with guests bidding on things like a $15,000 Hong Kong or Tokyo holiday, a tennis racket and ball signed by Venus Williams, a round of golf with Tiger Woods' former caddy, Steve Williams, and even a dinner for four at Mayor Leanne Dalzell's house. Last year alone, 421 South Island children were admitted to Starship, with over one a month travelling via the air ambulance service. And it costs a pretty penny to get children up in the air and straight to emergency services.
Because the air ambulance, it's all kid-friendly, so it's got really cool pictures on the outsides and things, and internally it is all set up to be like your intensive care in the air, so it's very specifically built, and it costs $1.5 million annually to run it. So whilst we did an amazing job yesterday, I guess it's only the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
The tea party will be an annual event going forward, but there are lots of other ways to help Starship bring world-class care and facilities to all children that need it. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Well, now let's cross to Bridget Rutherford in the newsroom with what's happening in your neighbourhood.
Thanks, Jared. Pleas for the QE2 replacement facility to be made bigger may have just worked. Dallington resident Emma Jameson presented a petition with 100 signatures to the Burwood Pegasus Community Board last week. She hopes to get another 35-metre pool added into the facility's plans. City Councillor Glenn Livingston has said he and his colleagues can no longer ignore the community wishes for the Eastern Sports and Recreation Centre. A 35-metre pool was included in the facility's original scope, along with a 25-metre pool, but was taken out before it was presented to the council in March. Councillor Livingston says the council may need to look at a different way of tackling the project, including exploring different construction methods. Safety improvements will be made outside Te Waka Unua School 4 months after a pupil was hit by a car while walking to school. The Hagley Ferrymead Community Board has approved parking restrictions on Ferry Road and Hopkins Street so pupils can be dropped close to the entrance. It also approved a Kia pedestrian crossing on Hopkins Street. They come after 6-year-old Isaiah Matoi was hit while crossing Ferry Road on July 29th and receiving minor injuries. Both measures should be in place by the end of the year. It's mission accomplished for South Hornby pupils after releasing their inner heroes last week for the community. The pupils were so inspired by studying people who have done amazing things that they decided to become community heroes themselves. A senior group of pupils organised a day of fun, games and singing with the Woodkit Retirement Village. The Goodwill didn't stop there though. Pupils also collected cans and took them to the Christchurch City Mission. Selwyn is to recognise its growing diversity by taking steps to help migrants feel more at home. The district has seen many new migrants coming to work on farms, plus rebuild workers looking to base themselves near Christchurch. Selwyn District Council wants to start a cultural market as part of its newcomers and migrants strategy, which will be voted on Wednesday. The 2013 census found about 40% of the Selwyn population had been living elsewhere 5 years before. Of those who'd moved from overseas, 50% came from England, while Australia and South Africa had each provided 12% of migrants. And people boozing on a park bench in Edgware are causing headaches for some nearby businesses. The bench outside the SuperValue car park has become a hangout for drinkers from as early as 8 a.m. Some have become aggressive when asked to move on by businesses. Butcher shop Peter Tim's owner David Timms says they're mainly middle-aged men and sometimes ask for money off customers. He says it's turning some customers away from the area. Papanui Police Sergeant Brendan Stryker says they're aware of the problem and are working on getting cameras installed. From the newsroom, I'm Bridget Rutherford.
Thanks for that, Bridget. Well, what happens when a cat refuses to come down from a tree after 24 hours? Well, there was only one option left for a Parklands resident, as Emma J. McLennan reports.
2 fire crews were called out to Parklands this morning to rescue a pet cat that had been stuck in a neighbour's tree for more than 24 hours. Jasmine, a young Burmese Siamese cross, had been allowed out to climb trees for the very first time, so she'd found the biggest one in the neighbourhood and promptly got stuck. Owner Daniel Perriam said he had been worried about the cat, which meowed incessantly the whole time it was stuck.
Got pretty windy as well, so we knew that it was going to be a rough night for her, but it wasn't much we could do at that time because it wasn't until about 11 until we actually found her.
The fire service was called early this morning and 2 fire engines sent out to the Parklands property. The first had a fixed ladder, but a second had to be brought in to reach the cat.
We do have ladders on our appliances that can get up that high, but they're not as safe to manoeuvre around as the turntable ladder that we brought out from the city.
Mr Perriam said part of Heathglen Ave was closed while the rescue took place, and a few neighbours had come outside to watch.
And everyone was kind of having a look to see what was going on, so just for a cat's pretty strange.
But Mr Perriam also said he was very excited to get his cat back, and Jasmine seemed more than happy to have her feet on the ground. As to the amount of people involved in the rescue, Mr Lewis said it was becoming more unusual for the fire service to take their crews out for cat rescues.
We don't normally come out on an everyday basis just to do this particular type of thing. As much as it is thought that the fire service do come out to get cats down trees all day, it is becoming a rarer thing than more regular.
As for Jasmine, Mr Perriam doesn't think she'll be climbing trees again anytime soon. Emma J. McLennan, CTV News.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, Sport, plus your region's weather forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Now here's Gordon Finlater with the latest in local sport.
Well, starting with tennis tonight, and the Christchurch Interclub competition was wrapped up on Saturday. First up was the women's final, which saw Waimari hosting Elmwood. And the hosts got off to the perfect start, with both double ties going their way in 2 sets. Elmwood did bounce back with number 1 Kairangi Vano and number 4 Annie Coates both grabbing wins. However, it would be Waimari locking up the trophy for the year, with wins for Michael Matson and Lily Bray. It was then the turn of the men, with Kashmir hosting Waimari. The all-Meredith doubles pairing of Matt and James Meredith got Kashmir off to a bright start, defeating Connor Heap and Remy Finian in straight sets. The bottom doubles tie went down to the wire, with Kashmir's Tim McCarg and Tim Meredith keeping their composure to defeat Glenn Wilson and Benji McGilvray in a tense third set super tiebreaker.
It's a pressure game, and luckily we got 2 more points in the end.
And with doubles, it's with the super breaker and then a tiebreaker, it's in sudden death for Juice, so it can go either way really. So, but being up 2-0 now with the doubles, it's a good start, but we've still got to finish it off now.
And that win did prove crucial, with Dylan Heap and Remy Finian both winning their singles for Waimari. A win for Tim Meredith meant Kashmir wrapped up their 3rd straight title, where number 1 James Meredith took the first set of his match with Connor Heap. And finally tonight, 2 weeks of world-class bowls are about to take place in Christchurch. Burnside and Papanui bowling clubs host the 2015 Asia Pacific Championships, beginning tomorrow. Blackjacks put in their final preparations today ahead of what is a major tournament for the side.
This is one of the big ones, one of the big three. So you've got the World Champs, you've got the Commonwealth Games, and then this is the next on the ladder. But in terms of preparation, so this is really key for us. So a good performance here obviously gives us a bit of momentum going into the likes of the Trans-Tasman and the Six Nations in March, I think it is. So yeah, really big.
The Asia Pacific Champs is yet another high-profile event after Christchurch hosted the Champion of Champions singles last year, while the city will also host next year's World Champs.
I guess it's piggybacked on the last time we had the World Champs here in 2008. We did such a good job, but yeah, for Christchurch to have it 2 times in such a short space of time is just fantastic. You know, it's awesome, and especially for me. You know, like I live here, play here, so it's just fantastic. Yeah, really lucky.
With 2 clubs co-hosting the event, adapting to the greens will be a challenge for all.
We've just been and had a practice on Burnside, and it was going a wee bit slower than this one's super quick, which is good, but it's just you have to learn to adjust, and it's all part of the game. Yeah.
And while some familiar names will be among those to beat, the tournament is also the opportunity for some new stars to stake their claim in the sport.
These sort of events can really, I guess, identify a lot of talent because there's so many countries that don't have a big base but have some really, really good players. But always a threat, I guess, the likes of Australia and Malaysia and Canada, you know, they're always really tough candidates.
The tournament gets underway tomorrow from Papanui and Burnside, with the finals taking place at Burnside later next week. Well, you're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Findlater for CTV Sport.
Looking good, Gordon. Thanks for that. Now here's Mercy with your region's weather forecast. I hear it was a fine day for most.
Thanks, Jared. Yes, it was lovely and hot out there today. Those northwest winds really warming the temperatures, and the good news is we're expecting those warm conditions to last for the rest of the week. Today's highs for South Canterbury, 25 for you Timaru and Temuka, and 23 for Geraldine. 22 was the high for Christchurch today. Sharing that high was Akaroa, Leeston and Dowfield. 23 for you Ashburton, and 24 for Methven. Lots of lovely warmth for North Canterbury as well. 21 for Kaikoura and Cheviot, 23 for Amberley and Hanmer Springs, and 22 for Colvin and Rangiora. Over to the Alpine region, it was a little bit colder here for you Arthur's Pass, unfortunately. Just 11 degrees for your high today. Tomorrow we're expecting that northwest wind to come back, so 23 is the high there for Timaru, 11 for that overnight low for you, so quite a mild one. Ashburton also expecting that really warm conditions, 25 degrees there for you with 12 for that morning start, and those northwesterly winds could be quite blustery. The Garden City going to be a beautiful Tuesday for you guys, and 24 degrees there. You might only need 1 layer of clothing, 10 degrees for that overnight low. Kaikoura, lovely and hot here as well, 22 degrees with northwesterly winds, mainly fine, and 11 degrees for your high. Checking out tomorrow's weather for South Canterbury, bit of thin high cloud, but apart from that, a lovely day. Northwesterly winds for everyone here, and 25 degrees for Waimate. Central Canterbury gets warmer here as well, so 25 is the high there for Akaroa. Northwesterly winds for everyone here, 24 for Dowfield and Methven. Heading further north, now I know it's not officially summer, but these temperatures look like summer. 26 degrees for Amberley and Colvin, 23 for Cheviot, and 24 for Rangiora. Over to the Alpine region, unfortunately you guys didn't get the summer memo. Just 15 degrees there for Arthur's Pass with westerly winds and a bit of rain coming through. Looking ahead to the upcoming days, very similar to Monday and Tuesday, however slightly warmer with those northwesterly winds quite strong coming through during the day. Flipping over to Thursday, we're also seeing those northwesterly winds with really warm temperatures. Now, did you see the Wednesday overnight low for Timaru? I wonder if you caught that. Said 112, actually only going to be 12. You guys might be melting at 112. On Wednesday, those northwesterly winds are going to be there for everyone else as well as Timaru, seeing a little bit of showers and rain there for the Alpine passes though. Flipping over to Thursday, we are expecting a bit of a heat wave. So highs between the 25 25 and 28 degree mark. We're also predicting that some places may even get to 30 degrees, but we'll let you know if that happens. Beautiful warm temperatures and northwesterly winds over the next couple of days. Before I go though, a huge shout out to some really big supporters of CTV News, watching all the way from Adelaide, Winston and Shirley. Thanks for watching, guys. That's your update for Monday. Back to you, Jared.
Thanks for that, Mercy, and hello as well. And that's CTV News for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.